Welcome, viewers, to this week's episode of Dynamic Chess Analysis. I'm Doug Strutherton.
And I am Reginald Doug Strutherton. No relation.
No relation. We're here with an incredible back-and-forth match between SirFeep.
Wild game.
In every way. Almost as wild as Green Team. Green Team. Between SirFeep, rated 1414, some say that's actually a lower rating, it should be much higher, and the incoming, JasonWishnov, whose name may or may not be accurate.
May be false. A pseudonym.
A nom de plume, if
yes.
you will. Yes. So we're here, we're going to start off this analysis. What do you remember of this game, Reginald?
Well, if I recall, it was wild, and it nearly, well, we won't spoil the ending, but it could have gone a number of ways at a number of different times.
We will go quite in depth. So let's begin with the opening moves here. Standard Queen's pawn opening from both sides. The Queen's Gambit does indeed come out with c4.
Yeah.
And then Jason over there had a chance to accept or decline. Modern chess theory says to generally decline. This is the third most common response, knight f3. But well done, it's considered the martial defense.
Martial defense.
Yes, indeed. So we continue the game on. Standard move, bishop to g5 here, and we don't want to double up those pawns. So the queen coming out quite early. This is a very often seen from newer players, bringing the queen out a bit too early. But let's see.
JasonWishnov, young up-and-comer.
He's eager. He's an eager fellow.
Bold new strategy.
Bold and eager. So let's see if SirFeep can punish. So we get a bit of a pawn move there, just a tempo on the queen. The queen moves to c6, a relatively safe location, but we'll see as the game progresses how that goes. Continuing to develop, knight to g3, and then basically just a pure copycat move, in my opinion, bishop to g4. What do you feel about that bishop to g4 move, Reginald?
It's interesting you say a copycat move, because it is and it isn't, because it's a copycat move in the sense that it is similar, but it's a different piece, you see.
Yes,
it's not a knight.
Indeed, and we all see that the positions are, on the other side, the queen side, are quite different, so they do have different ramifications, as it were. So we continue bringing the pawn up to not have to double the pawns, but in so doing, pinning that knight to the queen from on f3, so that could mean trouble. Now, here might have been the first mistake from young Jason.
A massive misstep.
You can see, watch the on the side of the board, if we back up, the computer is saying that white has a slight edge at plus 0.072. But you can see here, Reginald, Jason brings the knight to a6. There's an old saying in chess, you see that knight on a rim is dim. You never want to move the knight really out to the edge there. And you can see here that...
I love a good rhyme.
Yes, I thought you were going to say you love a good rim.
I love a good rimming, Douglas.
That's... Oh my. So let's continue. So that we can see here that the engine says knight c3 is the proper continuation. Does SirFeep do knight c3? Absolutely not. And in so doing, surrenders some of that big advantage by going a3.
The bar on the left, for the lay person, indicates who is winning, more or less.
According to the computer analysis.
Nothing.
So here, a3
stone,
meant as a prophylactic move to prevent the knight coming to
prophylactic
b4.
move.
Yes.
What a sexual game, a surprisingly sexual game.
Chess is the most sexual game, some would say. So let's see how the game continues. Moving the knight. This is a bold move. This move, right, striking into the center of the position. Really remarkable stuff here.
JasonWishnov, not shying away.
Not shying away from the moment. Really going for it. So here, threatening this piece here, but still it's protected by the knight, so it's no problem there. So,
but you see, black, JasonWishnov has a lead now slightly.
Yes. We can see minus 0.75, and the correct move would be bishop takes f3 right here on that square. Will JasonWishnov capitalize? No, JasonWishnov does not, and now the white spirals back up. Already a wild game so far. Both players missing chances left and right. So
indeed.
How does the game continue? A castling, and again we're going deeply back and forth. Just for
a castle, or as I like to call it, the Thomas Crown affair.
Oh yes, the Thomas Crown affair. Who could forget that?
Thomas Crown affair.
So let's just for a moment, let's see how this line for black would continue. So these are not the moves played in the game. Instead, we're going to examine how it should have gone. So bishop takes.
Could have gone.
Bishop takes. Pawn takes. If bishop takes, other problems occur, and then knight taking that away. So here, some significant problems. What happens though if we just say, oh well, this is a logical move. Let's just take with the bishop. Even worse. Now the knight can come in to g5 and again take it for absolutely nothing. So the common theme here is removing the defender. So unfortunately, it was not taken.
None of which really
castle
took
short,
place.
And then f6, another bold move, but perhaps weakening the king. So then the game continues.
JasonWishnov's bold playing style is known to leave the king utterly defenseless.
Posed, if you will. Yes, yes. Bishop now getting a little tight, but still plenty of places to go. JasonWishnov developing the bishop, and now starting on the counter-offensive, saying to that bishop, "What say thee?
What say
thee? Will that bishop trade on f3, or will it back up to one of these squares? Let's see what happens." And backs up. Perhaps not as bold as
cowardly move.
Indeed.
Reminds me of once when I was summering in the countryside. Yes. I had a chance to buy an ownership stake in an orchard, and I didn't do it. And I regret it to this day.
And that orchard today? Samsung.
That orchard is Samsung. They grow phones.
They're very wealthy. You truly missed your chance, Reginald.
I missed the boat.
Still now you're a chess commentator, and one could say that is your true calling.
I am a trillionaire chess commentator now.
Yes.
Samsung rues the day they didn't invest in me.
Foolish. Very foolish. Finally bringing that knight into the action, bringing it to c3, and now the Thomas Crown affair from the other side of the board. Yes.
Yes.
You can see here, though, not quite as defended.
No.
Because here we have this gap that may come into play later. Let's see how it goes. The game continues. The rook transferring to a more active square on c1. Same thing from Jason, bringing it in line here with the queen. Always something you need to watch out for right there. The game continues. A pawn beginning to move forward now, threatening this advance, which would be a fork. You know about the forks, Reginald.
A fork, if I recall, Jason. Douglas, is when a piece has two choices. It can attack in either direction.
You can only defend one at a time.
You can only the defender must choose. It's a real Batman-esque affair. Save the girl, save your partner, Robin.
Which shall it be? And then both drop. It's a very dramatic moment.
Batman finds a way.
Always.
But shall Jason wish?
What shall Jason? Jason, what does Jason do? Oh, prevents the fork with a bold b4, and yet look at the meter on the left side. A4.
The computer thinks, yes.
It thinks A4 is the continuation. But does SirFeep find it? Oh no. He settles for the simple pawn. That said, still plus 3.64. Not a bad move, but not the best move. Still, the queen retreats. And here the queen of the white coming to play. SirFeep bringing it, as it were, starting to place the pressure, trying to stop.
Bringing it?
Yes, they do. All the time. The knight retreating briefly, but perhaps the knights are dancing now. This is the Strutherton night dance, as they call it.
Famous move. Doesn't come into play very often because it's generally sort of a bit of a make-good, sort of a clean-up affair, if I'm not mistaken. It generally happens in response to early game mistakes.
Yes, the Strutherton night dance, though, beautiful to see here in this game. And the pawn march on the queen side continues here with a4, and now a6. The pawns themselves mirroring each other's actions in a deep display of dominance. But how will it continue? And one of the first blood, if you will.
A bloodbath, a knightly bloodbath. the bishop comes in and just chuffs the knight right on the face.
And did you see that velocity from the bishop? Truly, like a bullet.
Terrifying.
Like a bullet. Only
a
one.
godly bullet sent from the heavens. The diocese sent it in to cuff that horse and send it back to hell where it came from.
Those who do not enjoy violence against animals, please avert your gaze.
Avert your eyes.
Avert thine eyes. But here there's only one chance to recapture with the queen. But now, white continues, bringing up b5, forcing black to do something about it. And the rook comes to play, pinning.
Trying to get into the mix here, the rook.
Yes, trying to pin the pawn against the queen, as we can see here. Let's see
Some
how it continues.
uncharacteristic forward thinking from Jason Wishnov.
And yet it was foiled by a quick pawn advance. You see, many think you have to take with the pawn, but sometimes the best move is to be passive and to prevent the blood from spilling. And now the pawn is advanced. This is a passed pawn already on the 6th rank, threatening the queen. What shall Jason Wishnov do? Retreat! And now another pawn falls as bishop takes a6. Things are looking dire for Jason Wishnov, but this is not the end. The knight takes, the pawn takes, the bishop takes, the pawn moves, and still white now with an overwhelming advantage of plus 7.33 according to computer analysis. How will Jason fight back? Well, right, just like that. With e5.
Bold pawn move.
Bold pawn move, indeed, but is it too late? We then bring the second rook into the action. Rook f d1, eyeing down that same technique, pinning that pawn to the queen. And now, okay, so I'd like to take this moment, Reginald.
Indeed.
It seems as though these two were speaking with each other over the board.
Oh.
And SirFeep, knowing that his young, bold opponent was losing, suggested the boldest of stratagems. SirFeep suggested that Jason Wishnov take that boldness and amp it up, bring it to its highest possible level. The only way forward to have a chance of victory was an all-out kamikaze attack.
If I recall, Jason Wishnov may have had some part in that decision as well, saying that reckless attack against the king, abandoning the queen side, felt like the right thing to do.
Indeed. You can see SirFeep focusing all of their forces over here on one side of the board, and yet, where is the enemy king? So now, with a sacrifice, a peace sacrifice, the bishop comes to h3. And now, SirFeep chooses to accept the sacrifice, taking another queen dangerously close to the enemy king, and all of SirFeep's forces on the wrong side of the board. Only perfect defense will save him now. The game continues. Knight to h2, specifically guarding this square right here to prevent further checks at this moment. But Jason Wishnov does not relent. The pawns start to march, bringing this rook shortly into the game. We can see that according to the computer, plus 10.5 an overwhelming lead, but that lead is tenuous, that lead is frail. A perfect computer could hold it, yes, but can a man?
We are all of us infallible. Fallible, I should say. Fallible.
Well, Reginald is infallible.
Well, right.
But
I am infallible, but we are none of us machines. You know?
Yes. So now, bringing one more piece to the desperate defense of the king's side, trying to get everything scrambling back in time. Still, white is ahead. Black continues looking to swing the rook to either g6 or h6, threatening deep, deep problems for white. Bringing that knight in to try and block this file. A good move, still plus 8.77 for white.
And
Are you ready?
Douglas,
Yes.
I think that we shall find the remainder of this game. Many, many things hinge on that knight there at g3.
Becomes a key player.
Yes.
Now, Reginald, I believe this was your favorite part of the game. We're about to see the Frostflower Gambit.
The frost flower, things are about to pop off, as they say.
Yes, the children say pop off. So here we go. And the rook, as before, swinging in. Now this knight, it's important to note, this knight is now pinned against the king. It cannot move for that would be illegal.
Indeed.
So keep track of that, dear viewer. Keep track of that. And now this
Boom!
was the pivotal moment in the game.
Should not have moved that pawn, apparently.
E4. Now let's discuss this move. This was truly... You could see the wild swing on the left side of the screen, from a massive white lead to now a massive black lead. And why is this? Let's talk about why.
Frankly, I have no idea.
Well, let Reginald, I thank you for ceding to a lesser chess mind like myself. Thank you for giving me a chance. You see, there is actually a double pin on the king right now. Of course, this knight cannot move. But what now has happened, because this pawn has moved up, is that this pawn here is also pinned to the king, which means if the rook were to come in like that, this pawn cannot recapture. It would be illegal. So at this point, not only would the king be under attack with this move, but after the king moves to safety, now the queen would fall as well. This is devastating and a completely won game for black, if black can see it. Just a wild guess. Do you think black sees it?
Well, I would say no.
Well, Reginald, no faith, but you are correct. You are correct. Still, after this
a tie,
an even position, for the knight still cannot move. So the knight that attack the pinned piece is a known chess adage. So let's see how does SirFeep react with a rook piece, and again, black now with an incredible possible advantage. All black has to do is take the knight, which was the original plan to begin with.
I wonder where did that plan fall apart? We shall see.
Instead, the rook is brought to f8, perhaps to increase the pressure, perhaps with plans of bringing this pawn here for a checkmate on g2, but finally SirFeep gets his feet under him and takes the bishop, preventing the pin that was on the pawn at f2, and now SirFeep may be in the clear.
Things will be difficult here for JasonWishnov, indeed. If possible, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I see the light at the end of the tunnel here for Jason.
Poor Jason, a spirited attack, a young, bold, virile attack.
Potent.
Potent. No dysfunction in this attack. It's purely function. It's all function here.
Indeed.
The king moving away here to h8.
For reasons unknown.
Unknown. There was no real attack.
No reason for that at all.
Black wanted to capture this pawn, which was currently at that time illegal due to the pin here. But it is hard to say. And now white continues decimating black's forces. The pawn moving up, trying to attack the rook on d3, simply sidestepping the clumsy attack of JasonWishnov here. Time is running out.
Be kind, Douglas. Be kind.
And yet, still, look at the meter on the left side. Only +2.
Still a possibility in the air.
Yeah, still a vague hope. And now, that hope fading.
Fading quickly.
Fading away. As a e3 advance is met with simply rook takes, deciding
It's been many a year since an e3 has advanced.
Oh, yes, Some could say that E3 has fallen out of favor in recent years.
Little video gaming joke.
It's not the square it used to be, as it were. Many would say. Pawn takes. Queen takes.
God, what was the hesitation here? Why was JasonWishnov so sheepish about taking out that knight at g3?
No one can say.
No
Reginald.
one knows.
Truly, perhaps just looking at the stars and not seeing what is right in front of your face. A classic mistake of the young, as it were. And now, trying to prevent any back rank mating ideas, giving the king a luft, as it's called, a luft on h7, very classic move. And now the bishop coming in to seal the fate. Now the queen must retreat, it does. And now the rook coming in, looking to trade material. Black cannot allow it. JasonWishnov sidestepping the attack on the 6th rank. The king, finally, after so long moving out of this pin, now this knight is free to move. The pawn is taken, but it is too little, too late. The rooks dancing back and forth, but now These pawns looking to be unstoppable pawns, becoming the beautiful queens at the end of the board they've always meant to be. The rook trying to prevent it, but it's not enough. B7's advanced is protected by A6. What happens now? The rook sweeping in. Is it enough? No, the knight captures because the pin is broken, attacking the queen. Now a check is thrown in, another check is thrown in, and after a block, a queen on B8 is taken. It's looking very dire. If you see the bar now, mate in 4 is coming.
Inescapable.
Inescapable. It's taken, block, a take. It's check. The queen has to sacrifice herself. But unfortunately, mate is coming. That's a fork. The queen has to take or block. She blocks. But with one final hammer stroke, queen takes F7. Checkmate.
Oh.
Oh, Reginald, my heart beating at 170 stones per fathom. which
Truly a wild...
the British measurements for heartbeat.
Truly a wild game, but it did not go Jason Wishnov's way.
But there were chances, and I will say this for young Jason. Despite being relatively new to the game, played with spirit, played an exciting game of chess. I would like to see more from young Jason in the future. I think they have a real future here in chess.
I heard a comment in passing that Jason may have thought of moving on to Go, ancient Chinese game of logic and territory control.
Perhaps this is true. Who knows?
But it's hard to say.
I'm not a Go commentator. I know little of Go.
I played in my youth, but I would need a refresher course.
How old are you, Reginald?
65.
Oh, you don't sound a day under 90.
Still young.
Still very young, as reckoned by the age of the universe, yes.
My secret, do you want to know my secret, Douglas, for youth?
Yes, please tell me. I wish to know.
Go-gurt.
Oh, it's like yogurt, but to stay.
Well, to go, you could take it with you in your satchel. I go on walks and I eat my go-gurt.
And it prevents the aging process.
Almost wholesale, entire prevention of the aging process.
Really, a remarkable substance.
I'm amazed that science has ignored the restorative properties of go-gurt for so long.
If you think about what go-gurt really is, it's infected milk. It's someone has taken milk and infected it. It
made milk worse in many senses.
And then decided it shouldn't stay still. It should be on the move.
It should be right on the go.
Yes.
Out and about on the town.
Well, anyway, Reginald, it's been a pleasure commentating this game.
We, of course, do this each fortnight.
We'll be back next fortnight.
To commentate on another game between two up-and-comers in the chess world.
In the Sapphire League.
Yes.
That's what this was. You can see the gemstones next to each player's name. It's actually a sapphire, right there.
That reminds me, a certain Jason Wishnov and a certain SirFeep should be sure to cancel their chess.com memberships after this recording.
Yes, they should be sure to do that. It would cost quite a bit of quid.
They should be charged $99 American.
American US.
For their chess.com accounts.
We'll remind them to do that, Reginald. Yes, we'll remind them shortly after this broadcast.
Well, anyway, thank you again, viewers at home.
This is Doug Strutherton.
This is Reginald Doug Strutherton. No relation.
Signing off.
Signing off. Good evening.
Good evening.